Hi folks, how's it going? Welcome to another episode of Diary of a Guitar Teacher. It's been a few days since I recorded, so I thought I'd come in and let you know how I'm doing. I've been doing some moving around, some shuffling, some thinking, some strategizing, trying to come up with a business plan, let's call it, because that's a thing that's been lacking in what I'm doing. I haven't really got any goals as such. I'm just kind of creating content, trying to grow an audience, but without any real idea of goals and milestones and that kind of thing. And I know that that's quite important. I have run businesses before, I still am, so I know that we need goals and we need a strategy. So I've got the back of the envelope kind of thing just here, and I just thought I'd come in and talk a bit about that today, because I have to have something to work towards. Now my main goal is to become an independent teacher, content creator, musician. So those three things. The first thing I should concentrate on, I think, is getting some income. And the simplest way of doing that is to find guitar pupils and to get more bookings to play live. More pupils is the thing that I should be working on with my marketing at the moment, because I have chunks of spare time during the day and I've got some momentum. I know that teaching is something that will motivate me and inspire me to increase my own knowledge and technique and skills, because teaching, it means you have to know it thoroughly, and I've found that to be the case, and I know that it's something I enjoy. So far so good. I've got a couple of pupils in the pipeline and another couple regular attendees, but I would like to build that up to maybe 10 a week, let's say, is a good goal to start with. 10 a week I think is achievable, and it's where I would like to be, just to give me a decent buffer, a decent cushion of income and motivation. And I'm sure that lesson plan wise there will be some cross pollination with pupils and what they want to learn, so I'll be able to use economies of scale, to use a business term. So that's the first thing. The second thing, playing live. Now playing live is something that takes a lot out of me. It's something that I always feel anxious about, and it's a strange thing because I've been doing it for years now. I shouldn't really be feeling crippling anxiety, and it's not crippling, it's just mild. And I'm of the opinion that that kind of anxiety is actually useful. It makes sure that I take what I'm doing seriously, make sure I do the preparation and the practice, and that motivates me to work on learning some new songs or getting better at songs I already play. Part of that involves technology. So at my feet here I've got a bunch of pedals and a looper. So I'm trying to incorporate this technology into what I do, particularly for solo playing, because solo playing can be kind of repetitive if you're just a solo acoustic guitar player. So that's the other part of my strategy. Learning wise, I've got so much to learn, it's unbelievable. If you look in my shelves and saw all the DVDs and all the books and all the magazines up there, you would soon see how much material I've got to go through. And if I could go through all that, I would be the most amazing guitar player in the world. It's just time, isn't it? It's just time and motivation. So I need to come up with a strategy for my learning as well as for my business planning. I don't know if any of you have ever heard the podcast Acoustic Uprising. This was started out as a fingerstyle documentary, which was published probably a couple of years ago now. And it looked at the phenomenon of fingerstyle guitar player in the modern sense, which really starts with Michael Hedges, I think, and Preston Reed. These guys were taking solo acoustic guitar playing to a different level by using percussive techniques and using a lot of effects for for augmentation of sound And there is now a wave of fingerstyle guitar players who are taking things to the next level. One of these players is a guy called Mike Dawes, and I've been aware of Mike for a while. I've recently just discovered that he's going to be at a gathering that I'm going to in June, which is the RMMGA gathering. The RMMGA is a news group. Before there were forums, there used to be news groups, and this was Rec Music Makers Guitar Acoustic. It was just a bunch of guys talking about guitars and girls, and some of the people on there started organising gatherings, different parts of the world. So there's one in the UK, there's one in Texas, there's one in the east coast of the USA, and the UK one is now coming up for its 22nd year. So this is the gathering that I'm going to, and it's the gathering at which I launched my podcast last year with the very first interview I ever did with Will McNichol. And I'm so grateful to Will for being so patient with me and allowing me to interview him, get me off of that thinking about it stage to the doing it stage, and giving me some confidence in myself. So thank you, Will. Mike's going to be there this year, and I'm hoping that I'll get a chance to interview him. I'll certainly get a chance to see him play because he's booked as one of the headline acts for that weekend. It'd be great to talk to him, and so I'm listening to the Acoustic Uprising podcasts. I only discovered these a couple of days ago. I didn't know that they'd done a podcast, so I've downloaded the whole bunch, and I'm going through them all, listening to interviews and talks with people who are working in the fingerstyle guitar arena. I just listened to one this morning by Trevor Gordon Hall, and it was really, really, really interesting to have his talk about the music industry in general, but also about what it's like being a solo guitar player. It's so interesting, and I'm really enjoying listening to them. So I would like to get to interview Mike Dawes. I've also got one of his online tutorial videos, which I downloaded probably about a year ago, and I haven't actually gone through it yet. So I think that that's something that I would benefit from, learning some techniques about how to enhance my playing with some percussive techniques and that sort of thing, just to see how it works for me and if it's something I think I can use. So that's going to be part of my plan. Now, I'm an all or nothing kind of guy, so I tend to think along the lines of, okay, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to hammer these videos until I finish them. But I know from experience that my motivation and enthusiasm wanes over time, and I've got so many things I've started and never finished in terms of learning. So I think I should try and be more realistic and perhaps think about doing an hour a day. That might work for me. And getting a strategy for my week of sitting home, doing an hour of this, an hour of that, an hour of the other thing, and seeing where it takes me. Another person who's going to be at RMMG gathering is Clive Carroll. Now, when I saw Clive play 2 years ago at the same gathering, he played on the Sunday night, and I was planning to leave on the Sunday night to drive back up to Scotland. Everybody there said, don't do that. Don't do that. Clive's playing. You've got to see Clive. And they were right. It's one of the most moving and profound acoustic solo guitar performances that I've ever seen. Clive Carroll squeezes so much tone out of an acoustic guitar. I think that's a good way of putting it. He rings like a sponge. He gets so much tone. It's unbelievable. And he's such a humble and down-to-earth guy. I did miss the kitchen session, and I'm a bit upset about that because I did go to bed. Apparently he sat and jammed in the kitchen with whoever was still around for a few hours, and that would be a phenomenal thing to watch. So that might happen again this year, who knows. It would be lovely to get to talk to Clive as well, so hopefully that will happen. Okay, where else are we? Watching content. I've been watching two creators in particular. I'd like to talk about one of them today, and that's Paul Davids from the Netherlands. The other one is Mary Spender, but I'll spend some more time talking about Mary in another episode because she deserves a whole episode to herself, I would say, as does Paul. Now, Paul's video editing skills are out of this world. They're next level. Watching Paul is really inspiring me to work on my technical skills, to work on my engineering skills. We're doing 2 camera shoots, with doing clever transitions, with making good audio, but above all with value, because what he does, the value that he gives in his videos is just unbelievable. I watched a video that he did a couple of days ago where he talked about modal interchanges, so changing modes in a song, and he was talking about a song called Somersault by 07. He looked at the chord progression of that song, and the way he explains it and the way he puts his videos together made it so simple to follow. Maybe not simple to grasp, because there was quite a bit of theory in there, talking about parallel keys. But this is the sort of information that's really going to do something for my musical knowledge, to pick up on these ideas of chord progressions in particular keys, and how you can add chords that are not necessarily part of that key to add melodic interest, harmonic interest, surprise, that kind of thing, and learn how to listen properly, how to analyze the music that I love, and learn to understand it, to understand what's going on, and then perhaps think about the emotional connection that those kind of progressions mean to me, and then learn how to express that, because part of my musical journey that disappoints me is that I feel like I've never had the confidence or the belief in myself to express myself through my music. I've spent so much time learning other people's music, reading through tablature and watching video lessons, and learning other people's music without really applying anything of myself. And I feel like that's beginning to change now. I feel like that's something that would be worthwhile documenting, perhaps in podcast form, just to see if I have anything to say, and what kind of techniques I end up using to say them, and what kind of influences come out, because it's one of the things you always hear in interviews with musicians, right? Who are your influences? And I really have become to understand what that means, how it's the stuff that you listen to through your life, how it all churns away inside you and then comes out as something else. And that's what I need to learn how to do more of. Now, a big part of the problem with that is time. Learning video editing, learning audio editing, learning engineering, learning music theory, practicing skills, practicing techniques, lesson planning, preparation, travel. There are so many parts of this puzzle for me to try and come up with a package that will work for me, to help me to grow as a musician, to help me to grow as a content creator, to help me to grow an audience, to teach me how to offer value to my audience, to teach me how to express myself. There's just so much to this that it's difficult, it's a challenge. I do have a family, I do have chores to do, as everyone does, right? So how do I go about it? Well, listening to Gary Vaynerchuk talking about living your passion has been a big motivation to me, and I've come up with the idea of partnering up, let's say, partnering up with my daughter and having her come on board as a video editor, maybe as a content publisher, maybe as a social media promoter, these kinds of things that would free me up a little bit to take care of the stuff that I can do, the music stuff, the techniques, the theories, the teaching, all of that. Probably the engineering, because I'm the guy in front of the camera and I'm the one who's home and has the time to sit and work this out. But when it comes to editing, I think this is something that I could really use some help with. So that's what I've partnered up with my daughter to do. She's agreed to it, and I've just got to come up with a way of sharing the content with her, talking about the technology. Is it going to be on thumb drives, or how are we going to share assets across different computers and across the network, that sort of thing. That's all technical stuff, but it's part of what I need to figure out as well. So that's where I am today. In terms of this podcast, I've decided I'm going to split it up from the Acoustic Guitar I.O. podcast and make it into its own feed. So I've started a new Anchor.fm account. I'm going to put this Diary of a Guitar Teacher into its own feed, and I'm going to remove the shows I've published already on the Acoustic Guitar I.O. feed. The reason for that is that I would like the Acoustic Guitar I.O. feed to be an interview show, and I'd like to use the other feed as this kind of riffing into the camera, talking about strategy and planning and all that stuff, about how to become a teacher and a player. So the Acoustic Guitar I.O. is going to move the guitar content away. I'm going to do it maybe one a day or a few a day. I think I've got 5 published, so I've moved 2 already, yesterday and today. I would like it to become an interview show so that I can show it to people. I'm planning to interview, as I said, at the RMMJ gathering. There's also the Arran Folk Festival coming up, so I've lined up an interview there with Jen Butterworth, phenomenal guitar player. I would like to line up some other interviews while that's happening too, if I can. I've got some people lined up for interviews over Skype. And I've also got the Ullapool Guitar Festival in October. Will McNichol's going to be back at that again, so I'm looking forward to seeing him. And there's also the Acoustic Soundboard UK annual gathering in Halifax, which is Acoustic Soundboard UK is a forum which runs at acousticsoundboard.co.uk. And I've been a member of that for a few years now, and I got to the gathering last year for the first time in September. Really had a great time and recorded some content for my channel, some interviews and some music. So these are my 3 kind of travelling plans for this year, to allow me to record more content, to grow my channel and to network and meet people and just have a great time, because there's nothing quite such fun as gathering together with a bunch of guitar geeks, listening to music, sharing music, trying a whole bunch of amazing guitars and just having fun and calling it work. That's the dream. That's what I want to be able to do with my life, is to make these things into my work. So that's what I'm up to at the moment. I hope that's been useful, interesting. I don't know. If it is, let me know. I'd love to have a chat if you'd like to be part of this. If you think you have something to say, you could be interviewed, I'd be happy to set that up. If you want to collaborate musically somehow, we could do that. There's all sorts of things that I could do in this channel. I'm just looking for some feedback and some growth. So if you've watched this far, thank you. I know it's a bit long, just listen to one guy talking into a camera. But if you have got this far, thank you. And please engage with me by liking and subscribing and sharing my content. I'm on a mission to try and get to 100 YouTube subscribers. I think I'm at 78 at the time of recording. And I can't change the name of my channel from a random string of letters and numbers to something more communicable until I get to 100 subs. So help me out with that. Come on. I know you'd like to. I want to get some business cards published with my YouTube channel across the business card, and I can't do that until I know what the name of the channel is going to be, and I won't know that until I can get 100 subs. So help me out. Thanks very much, folks. This is going to go up as a podcast. It's also going to go up on YouTube as a video, so you can watch on both or listen on audio. And yeah, that's me. See you in the next one. Bye for now.